try to speak clearly lah. And I use my MC voice, my MC level voice projection for you.
No need think so much. This podcast is only listened by how many people?
It's okay, must do
Okay.
deliver.
I'll go straight into it. Okay. Welcome to another episode of Baldcast.
I copy only.
Yeah, okay, never mind. We always struggle with the intro. Today we have a guest here. This is Lydia. Lydia, say hi.
Hi, I'm Lydia.
Okay.
You need to do the intro.
Yeah, you need to intro
Lydia is my
me.
primary school friend.
Yeah.
We know each other since
7 years old. We have been.
To be fair, we weren't in the same class until primary 3.
Oh, but we had Chinese classes together.
Oh, really?
You were
Yeah.
1A, I was 1B.
Yeah.
But then I don't remember if you're 2A or 2B. But
It sticks.
okay, so
2A, 2B.
technically we were only in the same class from primary 3 onwards.
3 onwards.
Yeah, but I've known you since we were 7.
Yeah. Wow. Actually, to be
How
honest,
many years has that been?
Almost 30. 2 more years, then will be 30 years.
13.
Oh shit.
330.
When you're 37, it's 30 years lah. Is it very difficult? Yeah. So I've known Lydia for very long. I think in secondary school we weren't really in much contact.
But I always felt close to you. Like I counted you as one of my closer friends. Definitely.
I feel like we only got closer, a lot closer. Wow. When maybe in uni
Really?
or
Too
JC. I don't know. I think there are like 1 or 2 gatherings that help to strengthen the connection. Yeah. Cause I feel like in secondary school you have your own friends and so on. And
Right.
back then it's only through text, right?
Yeah.
And then you got a limited number of texts you can send per
Correct,
month, right?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Then
but
we also don't. I mean, we don't really hang out as often
Right.
until a bit later.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah. But I always knew what you were up to. I knew you were a medic in army, for example. You know, it was very we always kept up with each other, with each other, no matter what the life stage was.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. I mean, you must have meant something to me for me to, you know, I have that kind of contact with you. So like, I will update you like, I have a boyfriend, like, I'm getting married, you know. I will still update you one lah. So don't know leh, lor. Yeah.
It's a blur lah. That actually I also don't really remember. Like sometimes some certain friends also like, actually we came in contact for very long.
Yeah.
Then you also like never really think about it until you think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, you just take 30 years, right?
2 years I haven't yet.
Just shy of like 28. Yeah.
Don't anyhow add a few 8 years.
Yeah.
So Lydia is back in Singapore for
For a bit, just
for a
like
bit.
5 days.
And I thought it would be interesting to bring Lydia here because Lydia is actually currently residing in Japan.
Yes.
And we actually also met up like last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. Last week,
2 weeks ago.
About 2 weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah, in
17th
Japan.
December, I remember.
Yeah, when we were there. So-
January.
Do you say December?
I said December. I did get the date right.
February is next week.
17th January.
So
yes.
so I thought it'd be interesting to bring Lydia in to, I think, just have conversations surrounding living in Japan, being in Japan, what is it like to be a Singaporean in Japan and stuff like that. Yeah. So I guess we can jump right into it.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe, I mean, you have told me before, I'm aware of the story, but like what's your journey? How do you end up residing in Japan? Maybe you can start off with like what interests you in Japan.
I think it all started in primary school when I was like, I got into Sailor Moon. And then after that, I got interested in Japanese language because why I got interested in... I think it was because my dad bought me a Sailor Moon game. Yeah, that was it. Nintendo. And it was a Japanese game. There was no English in it. So I needed to be able to read at least the sailors' names to know who is in the tournament.
Wait, so what is Sailor Moon's name in Japanese?
Sailor Moon.
So you have the different planets, right?
Yeah,
Uranus, Neptune.
Yeah.
These are all the different characters, right?
Correct. So I needed to read katakana, like Neptune, that kind.
Oh, you write it in katakana?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's how I got acquainted with the Japanese language, and I've always been a language person. So, I guess
as a primary school kid.
yes, I didn't learn Chinese. I have memories of me not being able to speak Chinese. And I didn't learn Chinese until I was in primary school, and I really loved Chinese as a language. So when I found out there was this language called Japanese that had Chinese characters, I felt that I was destined to learn it.
This was a sign.
It's just too big. It's actually just too big, but in your primary school mind, this is destiny.
Yeah, because the words, right? They look the same. Wow, but the sound is different. That kind. So primary 5 was when I really started. I knew that I wanted to learn Japanese, and hopefully one day I would visit Japan. But I also had that feeling like one day I want to live in Japan. I also don't know why.
So I guess what you're saying is like in primary school you already, like through the exposure of the game and the language, you kind of started to, I assume you start to consume a bit more Japanese media.
Yeah, I definitely. So, but I consumed it in Chinese because comics, they were all translated in Chinese.
I remember.
Yeah, so I was reading a lot of Japanese comics but in Chinese.
Yeah.
And on last time it was called SCV. I don't know what it's called now. Like
cable TV.
Yeah. They would have a lot of Chinese.
SCV, revealing the age. Okay, sorry.
They would have these they would have Sailor Moon. I think that's how I got to know about Sailor Moon because it was dubbed in Chinese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, back then Japanese media is
Primarily, right?
Yeah, primarily consumed in Chinese.
Even I didn't watch it like Dragon Ball, right?
Crayon Shin-chan.
Yeah.
Pokemon is
Pokemon
English.
English.
I remember watching
Slam Dunk was in Chinese.
Yeah. I think the乌龟博士was it a Japanese show? Doraemon.
Doraemon was definitely Chinese. Yeah. But 乌龟博士 is Taiwanese. It's a Taiwanese show.
乌龟博士
The 10个为什么 right? Yeah, that one is a Taiwan. Yeah.
什么告诉你？
So yeah, that
Did you
one.
watch that before?
Oh
my
no.
God. It's there. 4 years only.
No, but maybe because I consume English media most of the time, so I don't really consume Chinese stuff.
Right.
So
Yeah. So that's how I decided that Japan was my end goal because that was where the language was.
Interesting.
So yeah.
How do you back then without internet and all that shit? How do you self-taught Japanese?
Yes. So but there was already internet. So I guess I was a very my home had internet very early because of my dad's job. So by the time I was in primary 3, I was already or maybe primary 4, I was already learning very simple HTML code. Yeah. Because,
really?
Yeah, primary 4, primary 5.
To build website or?
Yeah. Just for fun because my parents had a book, that kind of thing. So it was just one of those things that happened in our household. And I like to teach myself things. So when it came to Japanese, it was I guess my family, they were also very, my dad used to have business with Kawasaki Holdings, they made jet skis. So my dad used to be part of a shipping company, and he would have Japanese clients. So he also would play Japanese tapes at home, language tapes, language learning tapes.
Also, he also was trying to actively learn.
Yeah, but that was way before my journey. That was when I was 6 or something.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had always known that there was a language called Japanese, in my periphery, and then when my aunt started learning Japanese, then that was just right around that time where I got into Sailor Moon. So at the back of her book, there was the syllabary. So I would take Neptune, and check like that. So it was through that travel book that she had and the internet that I picked up a lot of random Japanese phrases.
That's interesting. Because I remember back then internet was there's the plans were based on how much data you consume. So I remember not being able to have free reign of the internet. And my parents... So last time is like maybe you have 1 month, you have, I don't know, 200 megabytes, for example. So if you overshoot it, you need to pay extra. So what we had to do is when you use the internet, we have to write a logbook. Yeah. Then because usually there's a window, right? They tell you time elapsed. How long has it been on for? I think it's not based on data, it's based on time.
Okay.
So it's like 4 hours or like 10
I
hours
think there was
a
something
month.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Then you use already, then you must write down so that we can keep track how much we have used.
Okay.
But then like back then I don't remember using it for learning things.
Yeah,
I use it to go look for flash games. This driving game damn fun. And then just playing online. Then you play already and then it's like, okay, turn it off. Don't write in the logbook. Don't write logbook. No one knows. You never use. It never happened. Then sometimes my parents wonder, how come we overshot?
I never was really much of a gaming kid, but I would use it to Google like phrases in Japanese and anime stuff like Sailor Moon stuff. And I think that was also what made me realize I can learn the language through a computer. So I think a very life-changing thing was a CD-ROM that my parents bought me. It was a Japanese language CD-ROM lah. Yeah, and I learned a lot of my like first phrases from that CD-ROM. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, so I think because that one don't need internet ma.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Just
I would just and it was like a targeted at adults one. It's not like any like those kind of game one. It's like last time don't have one, you know. So like the first phrase I learned, I always remember was "Getsuyobi ni omeni kakarimasu," which is very, very formal Japanese for "I will see you on Monday." Yeah. But then on that one also like taught you how to count like your ordinal numbers, your cardinal numbers, like 一つ二つ三つ that kind. Yeah, then that I remember that CD-ROM a lot. I wish I knew where it was, but yeah, that CD-ROM really taught me a lot of Japanese.
And meanwhile, I'm just listening to Disney songs on repeat on cassettes.
I think that's why I'm very, my interests were very apparent when I was a kid. Very, very, I would say like very geeky maybe. Yeah. So that was what led me to Japan.
Actually, remember like... Actually, to be honest, in primary school, I don't remember like if I knew what were your interests. I don't think you openly share about Sailor Moon stuff. Or maybe you don't share with me, you share with the other girls like Rachel.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and I guess Yvonne also lah.
Yeah, because we watched the same anime. Yeah.
I don't think I was watching anime back then. Pokemon lor, but I didn't know it was an anime ma.
I remember
it's just
one
cartoon, right?
very big thing that drew us together was when I got a Game Boy. And
I'm a big fan of Game Boy.
Yeah, and then Ken heard that I had a Game Boy, right? And also because I'm not a gamer, but it's more of like my parents were like, let you try something new lah. Yeah. So they got me a Game Boy, and then he said, he asked me what I was playing.
Oh, I don't remember this.
Yeah, and then he lent me Pokemon Red when I said I don't know what to play. This was like I showed him my cartridge or whatever. And then he lent me Pokemon. It had to be Red.
It's Red. Oh my god, you can actually remember. I'm amazed.
Yeah.
Because I only had Pokemon Red. Yeah.
Okay.
My cousin had Blues. That's how we played.
I
Then
see.
we would trade Pokemon.
Okay. So that was my first time playing Pokemon. Then why I remember this so clearly is because I brought my Game Boy to Hong Kong. You lent it to me over the holidays. Yeah, so I was playing a lot of Pokemon in Hong Kong. And I know that this was Ken's cartridge. Then when I came back over the holidays, then I returned it to you.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was why I think maybe that's why I felt like this is like one of my closer friends because he lent me his game,
Over the holidays.
Yeah.
I probably completed it until don't want to complete already. But yeah.
For me, I didn't really. I played it but without an end goal lah.
Yeah,
Because
you're just like
I'm not a
exploring the
gamer.
world.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, a new Pokemon. What's this?
Then fast forward to 21 years old, for my wedding gift, I requested the primary school friends get me a Game Boy. What? DS. DS. It was
The flip one.
Yeah, the flip one.
I think is it DS?
It was a
DS
DS.
stands for dual screen, right?
Yes.
I think so.
A DS. So I can't remember it was a DS or DS Lite, but anyway, that one, right, when even I brought to Japan, then because I got married 21 years old, I moved to Japan 23. So they gave it to me 21. Then I think by 25, 26, I was still playing the same DS, the same cartridge that he loaded all the games in for
specifically
me.
went, I can't remember where, but I specifically went to like those Sim shop or whatever, I think. Then I make sure that the Game Boy is modded. Because back then, if you don't mod is it modded? Actually, I cannot remember specifically, but I do remember like the cartridge has a lot of games. Oh, no, it's an SD card thing.
It was an SD card.
Yeah, so it's modded. Yeah. It has to be modded so that you can play a lot of games without without needing to buy so many different games.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I felt at that time, like this is my close friend, especially those people who came to my wedding. Yeah. So I think, but back to the Japan thing, I also think it's because Ken was very interested in Japan that also like brought us very close together. Because
when did your interest in Japan start?
Actually, to be honest,
Or like
I don't
Japanese
think so
culture and
soon,
media?
I felt like when I was interested, maybe it's can't be primary school, right? I felt like it would be secondary school. Because I think that was where because I don't have like the cable TV. So my media when I consume is always through like Kids Central. So I remember back then, like Central, they had like 11 p.m. or so, or 10:30 p.m. the later night, they will have anime screening. They will screen anime. And they will screen it in Japanese with English subs. So they don't dub it over.
Correct.
So one of the ones that I really watched was Inuyasha. I think that was the first so-called anime that I consumed that is in Japanese.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think Rachel was very into it, but I didn't watch that time.
So I kind of like followed that, and there were two others, I can't remember. But I think in JC, I started to watch. I think secondary school I started watching Gundam also. A friend had like full volume. I think I still have it.
I think they show Gundam on TV before, right? I feel like I've seen it as a kid also.
So my friend had a full. So that was Gundam Seed, and I had like 4 volumes of CDs. And my friend lent me. I think he never got it. He never took it back. And we're not in contact anymore.
I think during that time of my life when Central was airing Inuyasha, I had moved on to another part of Japanese pop culture, which was Johnny's. That's
the Johnny Idol.
So the anime fandom lost me to the Johnny's fandom. But that is actually also another big reason why I have stayed in Japan for so long, I feel. Or why I wanted to stay in Japan for so long is because like I was actually like really into the fandom to a point where I was traveling to Japan to watch, Arashi, my favorite boy band, who are on hiatus. And I was thinking, wow, if I'm traveling so much, I'm very xiong, so
might as
well stay there.
That was in secondary school already.
That secondary 3, I was into them.
Then you already managed to travel during that?
No, the first time.
I was like, wow.
No, the first time I traveled to Japan was during my honeymoon. But during my honeymoon, I also went to watch Arashi live.
That was when you
21, yeah. So
that was the first time you go to Japan. I think the first time you go to Japan was also 21.
Oh, is it?
That's interesting. I didn't know you were so late that you went.
Yeah, because my parents, they never were Japan people. And actually my parents also, we have never really had a holiday to like when we have gone overseas a lot together as a family, but it was always for like because my parents are they're very involved in church missions and stuff like that, so they would be on those trips. So every time I went, it would be like church related, and it was always very not for. We did do a bit of sightseeing, but I never had a real sightseeing experience until my honeymoon.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. I think in secondary school I got to travel also to Australia with school. That was fun. With school, do you get to travel?
With
before?
School? No. Wait, I lie. I think before I got married. No, correct. When I got married, it was the first time I went to Japan. Yeah. Then after that, in 1 year, I think I went to Japan like 3-4 times. After that, like,
You've been unleashed.
That's why you felt like, so expensive.
yeah. So,
But then were you working already?
Working already.
Okay.
Wow, but then 2 years later, you already moved there.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Because one of my friends told me about this thing called the JET program.
JET.
JET,
Yeah. So
Japanese
Japanese exchange teaching program. Japan exchange.
JEP. JET. Just JET.
JET program.
JET.
Yeah.
Okay.
I suddenly realized that I can't remember what JET stands for. Like I'm not 100% confident. Like is it Japan exchange teaching?
Yeah.
I feel like it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So JET is actually in my time, I don't really know about now,
I
but
think now still have. I remember seeing some TikTok
Should still
about
have.
it
Oh, okay.
recently, actually.
Should still
Yeah.
alright. It was quite high paying. So because I was married to an MOE teacher. Then he's paying an MOE teacher, government servant, quite high lah. So I needed to, because he was going to quit his job to come with me, so I needed to make sure that I was earning at least, that standard one lah. So it paid that amount lah. But actually, if you go through like 那个 what like if you are a private company that sends these type of teachers over to Japan, they can be paid very little. Yeah, because they are. But because JET it's like a legit, like very established program. Yeah, so I knew I had to get that one, otherwise cannot. Like, I 对不起 my spouse. So that's why when you apply, the application is very long. I think you apply in end of year and you actually leave. You apply in September. The application starts in September and then you leave for Japan in July. That is like almost a year.
Yeah.
Oh,
10 months. Yeah.
So when you applied, you were 22 lah, I guess.
Yeah.
I see.
So what's the average age of people in the program usually?
I think the cut-off is 35. So my batch, there were...
Still have a chance.
Cannot. September gone already. Mandu last year. You still can.
I still can. Let's see this one. What's the deal?
Yeah.
Because my company is going through layoffs. Maybe it's a sign.
Yeah, maybe it's a sign. I don't know. Can try out. I feel quite a big... Like my batch had quite a large variety. I was definitely one of the youngest, because like fresh grad. You need to have a university degree.
But any degree?
Any degree. You want to have a degree in rocket science also can. My batchmate had a degree in rocket science.
And then they decide I want to be an English teacher in Japan.
Yeah. She was a researcher or something at NUS or something. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah lor, you can be as long as you have a degree, you can do JET.
So also maybe you can share a bit more like the process, because I guess in some ways like I from what I remember is that you decided to move, your husband was supportive, and then you all just take the kind of like the leap to just stay in Japan. So like what were your expectations before you go over there, and whether like did you really live up to expectations? Did it not?
I don't know if I had any expectations because before moving I had visited it maybe 3 or 4 times. Visited Japan 3 or 4 times. So like, and also because I had already learned the language to a certain degree of fluency, so I felt very comfortable like using my language skills to get around. So I didn't feel that, how to say,
You don't feel unprepared.
Yeah.
In that sense,
yeah.
Like, it's totally unfamiliar, but it's like
Correct.
there's familiarity.
Yeah.
You've been there a few times.
Correct.
You can speak their language.
Correct.
You
And
know you
also
can
because
survive.
my Chinese not that bad. Like actually my Chinese good lah. Okay, I'll just say it lah. Okay, for
I think
someone
compared to like a lot of Singaporean standard is good lah.
yeah.
Yeah.
Plus for someone who grew up in English speaking family, my Chinese is good lah.
Yeah.
My parents
I grew
also
up in
speak
Chinese speaking. My Chinese is still chui. Yeah, it's still chui.
No, like because I love the language
Yeah.
but in itself so I made an effort to learn Chinese. So when you learn Chinese, so I didn't only stop at 简体字, because all the manga is Taiwanese one.
Yeah, it's all fancy.
So it's 繁体字嘛. So I have no problem reading 繁体字. In Japan uses a lot of 繁体字.
Yeah.
So I knew that if I cannot speak, never mind, I can read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I also had a friend that we met up with. She married a Japanese. Her Japanese, she says it's still not like that great, but she can get around with reading and like understanding. So she was like, recommend us this place. Then she showed us. Then it's all in
kanji.
Like, kanji characters. Then she said, I don't know in Japanese, but this place, you can go.
Correct.
So it's quite interesting, lah.
So
if you didn't go through the JET program, what would have been like your alternate, like your plan to get into Japan eventually?
don't go really.
Really, yeah.
It was that or nothing. Yeah, because I cannot do that to my spouse. Like he, you know.
Yeah.
I
bring
need
him
to
there to suffer.
Correct.
Right?
I need to secure a certain level of like.
So the plan was that he will be a housemaker lah, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
House-
you will be the
homemaker. Housemaker, I think.
Housemaker.
homemaker in building. Sorry.
Yeah.
Homemaker.
Homemaker. Yeah, lor.
Then you are the one bringing the money lah.
Correct. But
But wouldn't you have tried to like find an alternative, like what's that word, job there or something?
for myself?
If it wasn't through
But if
JET.
you find for herself, her husband will struggle.
Why?
Or unless he also housemaker lah. But it's just that homemaker. Yeah. Same lah.
That's the job.
No, I think so for me, because in Singapore I was already doing like education related jobs. So I love teaching already. So I couldn't see myself doing something else. So like if you want me to do admin or whatever, I'm like, oh my dear, I cannot. Yeah. So that's why I just felt that it was a perfect like, marriage of like what I love to do and being
Your
in
skill
Japan.
set.
Correct.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, so that's why if you ask me if I go there looking for alternative jobs, if it paid the JET program level of salary, then okay lah, go lor. But must be that level lor. Yeah.
So maybe I can ask you another thing, like how much do you think that someone needs to make in order to live? To live like in a way that is, I won't say no need to be super comfortable, but like you can get by quite easily.
Okay.
Because I'm just thinking, like okay lah, now I think the situation now and maybe 10 years ago, I think for example the exchange rate is quite different now. The expenses, the living expenses in Singapore compared to Japan actually is, I feel like close up a lot. Back then, I remember when I first go to Japan when I was 21 with a bunch of guy friends. Everything felt expensive. Not like crazily expensive, but it felt like you're paying a premium for everything that you do there. You buy a meal, you buy a snack, you buy a souvenir. It felt
Correct.
expensive.
Correct.
But that was also before, if I'm not wrong, it's before the Fukushima.
Okay.
Yeah. So that time exchange rate maybe was like, I don't know, got 1.4 no? Or 1.3.
I think
Yeah, so it's like 100 yen to $1.
140 yen to $1 lah. Is it
The other way.
the other way?
Yeah, 140 yen, $1 means
Oh yeah.
Singapore
correct,
is stronger.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other way.
So yeah, I still remember like I remember vividly like one of the first place when we touched down, we go to some, I think it's basically some shrine lah. Then there's like the street stall. Then we were like, oh my god, let's eat our first meal. Then we bought a skewer. Then I paid already 600 yen. Then I was like, then I eat. Then I was like, wait, isn't this like $8-9?
Okay, street store is expensive. Alright, tell you
Yeah.
street store at the shrine is expensive one.
Yeah.
Everybody go there for the experience.
Yeah.
It's like the locals.
Yeah, we had the
locals.
experience.
Yeah, the locals also understand this is an experience. Yeah.
So it's quite funny. I was like, oh shit. I was like, wait a minute. Not that cheap.
Correct.
Yeah. And nowadays, I think when we go out eat, last time if you come in and spend like $10-20 a meal, it's like, how is that like when you can actually get $2-3 meals in Singapore? Yeah. But nowadays it's like
You can't, right? Singapore also expensive.
you still can get meals below $5 like Cai Peng and stuff like that.
Okay.
But like nowadays we also eat like I guess general restaurants, casual casual dining a lot more. And the price actually, and also with the better
GST.
exchange rate, it feels like the same. Whatever you're spending in Japan feels
eat
like
out.
what we will spend here in Singapore anyway.
To eat out, yeah.
Yeah. In Japan, right, I feel that the prices actually haven't changed much in the past 12 years.
Oh really?
Yeah. You want to say it changed?
True.
It did lah with the GST hike. Like now it's 10%.
10%, right?
Yeah. So in my time there, I think it's gone up a few times. So it was 7 at some point, then it was 8. Then that.
Singapore is joining.
Yeah,
We're
it
going
was
to
10.
9.
Yeah, but
On the way to
even
9.
with that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people's salary don't go up. That's why Japanese people also start to complain. But then, but on the other hand, rent also is low. Rent, you know, and utilities. Okay, utilities just this year is starting to go up, but it's just this year, you know, that it go up. It
That's
could
very
have
interesting.
Been, yeah, it could have been like long time ago.
So you're saying that most of the things in Japan, the price hasn't really moved.
I
It
feel
feels
like,
static.
yeah, I feel like as someone living there lor, and like even certain things got cheaper at some point, you know, like the electricity, for example. It was very centralized, like only one company handles the electricity for the entire region, which is like 5 prefectures or something like that. Then one day they were like, oh, let's open the market, and then like different people came
Compete,
in.
yeah. Singapore also did that lah.
Yeah, exactly. Like the free, for not just for electricity but also for mobile. So last time there were only 3 carriers for the whole of Japan.
No,
And then
there's a
now
lot more.
after that they, of course it's still the lines are owned by these 3 carriers, but then the providers, they open up the market. So actually a lot of things got cheaper. Yeah. So
Oh, that's very interesting.
so internet got really cheap. Last time internet, I mean, I still pay that amount because I stick with the original carrier because the quality is better. But last time the internet, a very common like phone bill for everyone would be a month. Maybe you are paying like 15,000 yen, and it's like pre 2020 exchange rate.
1,000 is quite expensive.
Yeah, 15,000 is very
internet.
expensive. Not it's internet and phone like. Oh wait.
But how many phone
No,
lines?
just the phone. One phone line.
One phone line is
One-
15,000.
because you have to pay off your phone. The phone itself is very expensive.
Oh, so you don't pay like a upfront
You
X
can,
amount.
but it will be like 80,000 yen or something like that. Yeah. So and last time already it's like that, you know, that kind of price. So that's why it's like 15,000 yen every month you're paying. But now you can get like, because they've opened up the market, you can just buy a SIM-free phone. And we bought a Motorola for like 20,000 yen, and then the SIM card is like, the plan is 800 yen a month.
Yeah.
And like,
Similar to Singapore lah, somewhat.
15 years, 12 years ago, there was no such thing like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. So some things have really gone down.
Food wise, Food.
Food.
Yeah.
Food, if you cook at home in Japan, is actually quite affordable, quite
But if
cheap.
you eat out, like
Eating out is definitely
depends on what you eat.
depends, yeah. Yeah,
I know,
yeah,
like
yeah,
for example,
yeah,
you can get cheap meals like sukiya. Actually,
Correct.
Yoshinoya.
Yeah, correct.
yeah, you can
correct.
spend less than
Yeah.
easily spend less than $10 on a
Yeah, I think like they call it one coin, 500 yen is one coin, right? There are a lot of one coin places also.
Oh,
Yeah, so
that's like $5 lah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, in some ways, living in Japan might be cheaper than living in Singapore. In some
yeah, I
ways.
do feel so. For example, if you are eating out, I guess, yeah, if you are eating out, some places in Singapore, you know, there's a plus, right? There's a price and it's plus, service, charge plus.
Like service.
I feel those like casual dining, what's that, Thai Express, for example, those type of places, like in Japan, there are a lot of these kind of places, and they are priced slightly under actually. You and the tax is all included one, so there's nothing that is above $10. I mean, okay, wait, I lie. No, there's a lot of things that are under $10. Like really a lot. They price it there like ramen. You always eat before, right?
Yeah.
You buy from
Ramen
vending
is
machine,
like
right?
600,
Oh, definitely don't have 1,000 yen. 1,000 yen is you put a lot of topping,
you
right?
go for the full experience.
All
lah.
toppings.
Which is what I tend to go for also. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel that in Japan you get a very large variety. It's more of like you want for example, you want a bento meal. You just go to a supermarket. You don't go to convenience store. Convenience store sure expensive one. You go supermarket, right? The most expensive bento give you also 798 yen before tax.
Which is less than $10 anyway.
Yeah. Yeah lor. So
And rental, I guess, is also cheaper.
for house,
You're saying like in
housing.
Tokyo
Maybe.
can be.
Housing,
Yeah.
housing is cheaper than Singapore, I feel. Okay, Tokyo, I feel that maybe it's different. So here again, it's really where you are is very important. Different prefectures in Japan, like, you know, they have those rankings, right? This prefecture has the lowest rent median in Japan, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if you live outside of Tokyo, like for me, I live an hour and 20 minutes straight train from Tokyo Station. So if I were like an office worker in Marunouchi, which is where Tokyo Station is, I have to. The transport is very expensive, but maybe my rent is like makes up for it. You know? Yeah. So I don't know lah. If you want to, you must balance.
Yeah.
So like let's say in Singapore you stay in Bugis, for example. I know that my friends renting in Bugis, which is a prime area, right? It's 1.3K for one person. So in total, the whole flat, which is a 3-room flat, it's 1.3 times 2 which is 2.6. So what would the equivalent be in Japan?
2.6 2.6, that means 260,000 yen 260,000 yen is a lot of money. Let me think.
It's a lot of money.
In Tokyo, I think you can stay at a very, very central location also, but we don't say size lah, because Tokyo is very hard to measure by size. But we talk about how new the apartment is, maybe. Yeah, you can have a pretty new one. Nobody wants to live in the CBD because CBD got no supermarket, nothing, right? But let's say like a nice residential neighborhood. 2.6 can get you a really, really nice place.
Wow.
Yeah, really nice place.
In the central part with nice facilities and
For-
amenities.
very
For
accessible.
2%. Because you're saying 2%.
For 2
Yeah.
It's a flat lah. It'll be a flat lah.
Yeah, yeah,
That's interesting.
yeah. So, but if you want a very central location, very new but very small, yeah, that kind.
There's
Then,
always a trade-off.
then that one maybe 1.3, 1.5 can get you a very nice one, but small one in a very central location.
But good for one person lah. So
Yeah,
if you're
good
one
for-
person paying 1.3, you can still get a decent
Correct,
for one
correct.
person in a nice.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can pay less than. Can you pay around $500-$600? Can you get a place? Should be able to.
$600 in
Per pax, in
23 watts.
23 means what? Means like within Tokyo.
Yeah, so Tokyo, the main part, because Tokyo is very big.
Yeah.
Then it has other cities also at the side. Yeah. So actually this side.
Within
West side.
our right away from central Tokyo.
Correct,
Can lah.
Yeah, hour plus a bit. Yeah. So but the 23 watts, 5 to 6 have, but we call it a furonashi apart, or maybe it's like, that means don't have bathroom. Maybe you have to go to a center to bathe one. Very run down, very old one.
Okay.
Have is have, I think.
But may not be comfortable
Yeah,
per se
not
lah.
comfortable. It might not be a very safe neighborhood. Your door maybe don't have the block is very simple. That kind.
But do they do like room? So like shared
rental.
apartment.
Oh yes, there's share house. We call it
Share
share
house.
house, like terrace house, but
yeah.
like terrace
But
house
not
probably
as
from
big
the
as-
idea.
Not as big as terrace house.
No. I actually only watched one episode of terrace house in my life.
Usually the house is big lah.
Yeah, and
Because I
then-
guess it's for filming.
Yeah.
They needed the space. Anyway.
But I have friends who stay in share house. They usually don't like it.
Oh, why? Because you
No
have to.
privacy. Yeah, and it's just like a place where they pass through. I mean, yeah. But some people do stay in share house. But
Actually, now I got a related question.
Okay.
You mentioned like more rundown neighborhoods and poor neighborhoods. But like, actually, what do actually I realized, I don't know, in the time that we stay there or the few visits we've had, I feel when you go to cities like New York or London, or for example, it might be easy to spot those more poorer neighborhoods. But what do poorer neighborhoods in, like let's say Tokyo, usually look like?
I immediately think of Adachiku. I hope Adachiku people don't listen to this podcast.
Don't worry. I don't think I have a huge following
From
in
Japan.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah, I may be wrong, but I don't think so.
I think like it's more of like you just see a lot of people on the streets who are like, they may be this is such a stereotype, but they're like drinking, yes, and like
Rowdy.
smoking.
Rowdy?
Not rowdy, but I have ever been in those neighborhoods where like got people quarreling in the streets, that kind.
Which is quite rare
Yeah.
in Japan in general.
Yeah.
People don't usually confront each
Screaming.
other
Yeah.
because they are public nuisance, right? Which is something they actively avoid.
Yeah, but I think if you Google in Japanese, like where the crime rate is the highest, where bikes get stolen the most, that kind.
Yeah. Actually, very easy to steal bikes in Japan. People literally leave their bikes there.
Correct.
And then they go and do their stuff. No locks, no nothing. Right?
Yeah, my area you can, but in those places a bit dangerous. Yeah, so and things like crime, like break-ins. Yeah, because a lot of old people in Japan, so those places they like I don't think you can like see with your own eyes. It's more of like you need to know the stats. Yeah, but usually we immediately think of like Adachiku, Kitaku, the area. Like Muku is what? So like it's like sort of like north. Yeah. But out of the 23 wards, I'm saying. Yeah, because tourists tend to be more familiar with the 23 wards. Yeah. So
wow.
It's but it's getting better. Some are trying to like, I guess it's the same like big cities where like there's one that really reclaimed its name. It's called this area called Kita Senju, which is like now it becomes very like family oriented.
Is it gentrified?
I think so.
So in that area is run by one mayor? Same mayor?
So the whole of Tokyo is run by one mayor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then each ward is like a different, I guess, government agency taking care of it all.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Like municipal officers or whatever, like town council equivalent.
Yes, correct.
Interesting.
Is mayor right? No, wait. No, I think I'm not sure if like I get there's because for me mayor is a city, head of a city. So I guess no, each ward will have its mayor. I think not run by one mayor. Because I'm confusing governor and mayor. Yeah, I think governor is the whole.
So the government, okay.
Yeah, one governor.
Then when people do voting, they vote for their mayor or they vote for
they vote for
different.
Each.
They vote for everything.
Each level, each level has their own election. I think.
So like local elections, then regional, then provincial, whatever.
Yeah.
Prefectural.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to think like
Things like that.
okay, I don't really fully understand Japan politics, but I mean based on what we have read also about we know like actually a lot of the power stays within certain maybe family group or so on. Even passing down from World War, right? World War II.
Yeah.
Some of the big political leaders are actually descendants of some of the generals.
I think because we were reading those like history of Japan books, then they talk about those like famous families like Fujiwara, some start with H one, I can't remember. But then you realize that actually the current politicians, when I track back, say, they're actually descendants of all these famous family names.
Correct.
Yeah. Then I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
So actually power just stays within the powerful.
So does like the politics in I don't know whether I should bring this up, but I just find it interesting.
Okay.
Do you think that politics in like the leaders today, is there a difference in voting the different leaders? Like in some ways will people feel like they are just all part of the system anyway?
I actually feel that like thinking about Singapore and Japan is two different sports, if you're thinking of a sport. We it might be like still, ball sports, but completely different games, like completely different ball games. It's not like one like baseball and then Singapore is one game and then Japan is one game. It's really like Singapore is like hockey and then Japan is like baseball. It's very different because a lot of Japanese, they are not into politics at all. They don't think the government can help anything.
Like the change won't come from them in some ways. Yeah.
A lot of Japanese feel change comes from themselves, from the community, from businesses, from like, for example, what brought Japan to be a superpower? It was the businesses, it was
the companies that innovated.
Yeah, it wasn't like government policies or anything,
Oh, that's very interesting.
So their attitudes towards politics is very different. Why the voter turnout is so bad in Japan is because they don't. I don't know if you can say they don't trust the government, but there are people who are very politically involved as well. But a large number is like politics is one thing. There's a saying in Japan, you don't talk about two things. One is politics, another one is religion. Yeah. So I think these two things are like things that people shy away from in Japan.
Because it's divisive.
I'm wondering, is
It sounds like it.
divisive or is it because there's just nothing to talk about?
But wasn't that the case, the guy who killed Abe Shinzo
Yeah.
because of the church, the cult?
Yeah.
Yeah. But then that moved quite quickly. After that, they passed some sort of law, right?
Correct.
To clamp down on all these cults.
Yeah. So in that sense, it also brings to mind like why people don't talk about religion, because the word for religion is quite loaded. People think about cults when they hear the word 宗教. That is
Shugyo is
宗教
religion.
is the translation for religion. But it's a bit different when we perceive it in our, Anglophone context, where we think about organized religions like Islam and like when we say the word religion and Christianity or whatever. But in Japan, when you say shugyo, somehow you just think of the cults. Yeah.
Then how do they refer to like their Shinto?
Kami-sama, or like God lah. So and like Bukkyo is Buddhism. Yeah.
But they don't see Bukkyo and Shinto as religion.
I wonder if they do. I guess
Or
they
they
do.
just see it as tradition.
I think that might be a big part of it. Yeah. Like it's sort of like blended in.
To their everyday lives and
Yeah.
things that they
Correct.
do. Like if you see that little Buddha statue, leave something there, it's
Yeah.
just part of their tradition.
Correct. Yeah, I feel lah. And like having the Butsudan, the ancestral thing. That one is also, instead more of religion, it's more of like, it's just like natural. You are the eldest son or whatever. Then your family just has the Butsudan. Otherwise,
And-
how you talk to your dead parents, that kind of thing.
It does felt like over time when I consume more Japanese media, they are very ritualistic actually. Japan culture, like
Yeah, correct,
tea
correct.
ceremonies.
Yes.
Very into like we need to go through this every morning in order to start the day, for example. So it feels very. A lot of the day-to-day things are like have a system there. I guess to
Correct.
kind of like feels like you are in control. You're
I would say that like
getting
these
this
type of
started.
things, we also, I mean, not that I'm Japanese lah, but like before you eat, you say itadakimasu. This kind of thing is very, we don't really think about it, right? Just everybody does it, But here it's more like, for example, you're a Christian, you say grace, right? Then it's I feel that it's a bit like more, because you're different, then like a bit more conscious, and like you go, oh sorry, excuse me, I say grace first, when you're with your like non-Christian friends. But then in Japan it's like it's just something that you say lor.
You just suddenly thought of something.
What?
Then imagine I go out with my friends and I need to say grace. Itadakimasu. Itadakimasu. Okay, please
That's so
don't.
annoying.
I'll be like, what this bloody weeb.
Yeah.
Out of Japan.
I think saying itadakimasu is very similar to the you actually
Like what
pick
everybody
jia.
said.
Correct, yeah,
Itadakimasu.
it's jia. It's like jia ma.
yeah.
And it's like when you pick, it's almost as natural as picking up your chopstick.
Yeah,
It's that kind of feeling lor. So I don't know, but now that you mention it, I do feel that it's very ritualistic, but in a good way. Like it's also a way that they think about like protecting their traditions, and like, of course not everyone does it. Like during New Year, there's a bell that they would hit during for 12. I don't know how many times, but to signal in the New Year. And then, according to my acupuncturist, who's half Japanese, he and half Filipino, but he identifies as Japanese. No, he identifies as both, but he's spent his whole life in Japan. And then he say it's some people, they say it's a nuisance because 12 a.m. going to sleep already. So then I was like, but this is a tradition. And he was like, yeah lor, but what to do?
Same
right?
like in Singapore, you have like the temples or whatever, sometimes make too much noise. People actually complain. When they complain, then get shut down online, that kind. Yeah. So I guess in similar like if sometimes I realized that before I visit Japan, that before I visited Japan as much or like learn about Japan as much, I had that thinking that all Japanese are very like into their traditions, very into like everything needs to be like that, and everyone lives like that. Yeah. Then I realized that actually over time it's a bit same as Singapore lah. Like you think that all Chinese people goes to temple and stuff,
all
and
Chinese
like
people
go
have
through
a
or like will surely Chinese New Year will sure do house visiting. Then you realize actually it's a
mixed bag.
It's a mixed bag. Yeah.
But what do you think are the typical stereotypes that Singaporeans or misconceptions that Singaporeans have of Japan?
I would say that that everyone is very polite. Yeah.
Actually, they're rude in a very passive-aggressive way.
Some of them, yeah. Some of them, they are just like obviously rude. Yeah. So it's, I mean, the rudest service people I've ever met. Maybe in Japan, yeah. I would say.
In what way were they rude?
They basically said like, you cannot come in my store. There's this cone here, you stand here and wait. And then when you try to go in, they say, no, cannot even touch anything. Like, go out. Get out.
Is it because they know that you're a foreigner?
That one like their Google reviews all very bad one. No matter it's who. Yeah, but also there's my friends who Caucasian, once they say, they're like, no, cannot come in, that kind.
Yeah, I listened to the podcast and stuff like that, like the trash taste. Yeah, they did share about how sometimes they just don't want to deal with foreigners lah.
Yeah.
Because I think it makes them uncomfortable. They don't want to communicate, I guess, in some ways.
Correct.
So instead of trying to figure out how to deal with this and have anxiety over that, they just straight up just don't want to deal with it. We don't serve you.
But the other day I did meet one very rude server in Singapore lah.
Oh, Singapore very common lah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I was telling my Japanese friend that I do feel that what is the word for in English? In Japanese, say mujun, which in Chinese 矛盾, like contradicting feelings, which is there are things like Singaporeans give up their seats on the MRT a lot. I feel, or they don't.
Especially when you're the reserved seat.
Okay, yeah, and they don't sit in the reserved seat. But in Japan, the people don't really give you a reserved seat. I mean, even if they are in a reserved seat, like they don't really stand up.
At the side, usually got like 6 seats.
But a lot of people who are sitting in it, they don't give up their seat, that reserved seat.
Oh, so if they sit, they don't give it up.
Yeah, a lot don't. So I don't want to say that maybe they have, like me, they have a disability that or a condition that is not visible. But for people like that, there's a help mark. So I carry a help mark. It's a red mark, and to show that my illnesses is invisible. My illnesses are invisible. But so maybe to me, whenever I see someone who I think is like okay, and they don't have the mark and they're sitting in the reserved seat, instead of giving it up to me, I'm always thinking, okay, maybe they didn't go and get the mark, or they for some reason they didn't feel like it was something for them. So I just don't go and think too much about it. But there's it's not common for people to give up their seats to people with the help mark, but it has happened to me maybe three times in the year or so that I've had my mark. And even people, especially people, don't give up seats to elderly people, I feel. They give up seats to people who are injured or people who are pregnant, but elderly people don't really, unless it's really like they're very wobbly, right? Then people will in the reserved seats will give it up to them. But in Singapore, you're a bit grey hair, or you can see the wrinkles, so people give up to you.
Actually, it depends also. I think depends on what time you're traveling. Peak hour, I think people are less
inclined.
I think so. Especially if you're reserved seat, actually you are. I felt like it's almost an obligation. That if you're sitting in a reserved seat, if you see someone need it, you should give it up.
Right.
If you don't, then I'll just silently judge you.
Okay.
But that's all I do. I won't go and confront also lah.
Well, there have been instances you try to give up seats to, like even you're not in reserved seat, you try to give seats to elderly people in Japan, or they are like, no, you whole day work, you're very tired, you sit down, I still can one, like I can one, like they will say. Then some are okay lah, they sit. But there are people who are like that lah. Then so, but sometimes you see the uncle auntie, they all take their mountain climbing gear, come and take the train, then you're like, okay lah, these people are okay lah.
They can climb mountains, stand a few stops.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, but back to the contradicting feeling, is like, I feel that Singaporeans do have this, I guess you can say civic mindedness lah, but then there are other things that are just very, like, in contrary to that lor. Like, the service in Singapore, I feel that there are some very friendly, very like, service staff in Singapore who have really gone out of their way to help me and stuff like that. But then you have like people who really don't care about you, like very rude to you even. And then you also have like things like I guess like the little things that you just sort of like take for granted when you are in Japan. Like everything is smooth, things get done. Then here is sort of like, not that things don't get done, but you need to know the way to talk to people.
Like in Singapore.
Yeah, in Singapore, right.
Like what kind of things?
I think it was what was it? I remember it was during this trip actually. Like my the EasyLink, wait, no, not the EasyLink. I cannot remember off the top of my head now, but it's more of like, in Japan I can ask help for this thing, like from this person, but in Singapore I cannot because it doesn't work this way. I feel very frustrated. Yeah, I remember already, I tell you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think in Singapore, like you said, I think I feel like we have a bigger range when it comes to good and bad service. Yeah. I feel like Japan is more, you tend to get friendlier service most of the time. Yeah, but you have that occasional people don't care about you kind of. Yeah. So I feel like it feels more consistent in Japan. Like you can expect decent service.
Yeah.
But in Singapore, it's a bit more.
It's stressful.
Sometimes it can get really good. Sometimes it's like, am I not speaking the same language as you? I'm a Singaporean, I'm speaking normally.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you get it?
Correct.
Yeah.
I don't
Or like, it feels like you're imposing on this service person. That's just like, but that's your job, what?
Yeah,
why do you have to
exactly.
make me feel like shit for
Correct.
making you do your job?
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
So-
Like even if you don't like your job or you don't like me based on how I look like, just be civil. You don't have to be rude. Just be polite. You know.
Is it because of the way society views wait staff in Singapore versus Japan also? I don't know
I
what.
think maybe that's it, you know. Yeah, definitely they have, because as much as there are like nasty wait staff, service staff, they are nasty customers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Singapore, right?
Singapore, we have a lot of
But
shitty
in Japan,
customers.
there's just generally
Okay.
more respect. Or
There is
range
there are
also.
very bad customers in Japan also, like really very bad customers. But in Singapore, I think like, I guess good for the wait staff lah. They get to like 反驳 lor, they get to like fight back with the attitude. But in Japan you
Sometimes
cannot.
you get abused, right?
Yeah. In
Customer
Japan you really
abuse.
cannot.
And you're like, too bad because you're the service staff.
Correct.
in Japan.
In
Singapore.
Singapore, you're saying in Singapore.
I say in
in
Japan.
Japan, yeah.
Yeah.
In Japan, correct. Customer is king. Yeah, so
But how? Oh, customer is king. Okay.
yeah, in Singapore, customer sometimes is king.
Singapore, sometimes.
Yeah.
They go on social media, then you will let everybody judge. Who is the bad guy?
Yeah, and sometimes the customer is the one that
Yeah.
people slam.
It's quite, usually it's quite clear cut lah. You don't usually see a half. Yeah. So usually if like one guy is obviously wrong, some people would like try to say like, maybe this guy has a bad day. Then we're like, but bad day doesn't mean he can.
Correct.
He can.
So, you know, that's the thing lor. That's why I feel that like, you all have this like, this spirit of like giving up seats so readily to people, but still like other things don't reflect this goodness. Then I feel that it's just like such a shame.
But I don't know whether like people give up their seats more also because of the name and shame thing that people do.
There's such things. Now still got Stomp.
Last time I feel
Not
like
only Storm lah.
Yeah.
Now you just put on TikTok.
Yeah.
or
Oh,
Instagram.
serious
Yeah.
Facebook.
So still have
Yeah, like in different forms lah. Yeah. Storm also have lah. Yeah.
So I don't know whether we give up our seat because we feel more paiseh, you know.
I think it's
like,
to be
feel more
honest,
obligated.
I feel like it's just, I feel like it's a system that I try to respect because I also don't know when I will need the system. Like one day maybe I have a broken leg and I need to take public transport. I would love to have
Somebody
to have
give up
seat
their
giving
seats,
up.
yeah.
And if I know my really good like female friends who are pregnant who are taking a train, I also would love that the fact that they will be able to get a seat readily. But I got a pregnant colleague, she told me like she don't always get seats one day. Yeah, some people just act blur. Reserve, for me, reserve sleeping or looking at phone. But to me, it's like, then that's wrong already. Like, if you're on a reserve seat, you cannot act like you don't know your surrounding. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's my opinion.
Right, yeah.
But I think it so like when I hear from you, it's like, oh, okay. But I hear from my friend's account is she experienced it a bit different. Yeah. So I was like very surprised because my mind is like, if I'm seated down, but okay, so sometimes if the reserve seat person don't give up seat, usually people won't confront the reserve seat person.
Okay.
Yeah. End up usually someone maybe on the side will give up seat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've done that.
Then people will look at the reserve person and judge the person. Yeah.
So maybe it's all this fear of like judgment because you know other Singaporeans are judged because you were
But
judged.
some Singaporeans don't care lah.
Yeah.
Some aunties is like, they can stand one lah. They just like, and like, I'm old.
Yeah, but you know the thing is in Singapore, right, no matter how long you stand, you also the likelihood of you standing from like
One end to the other.
one end to the other is very low lah. But you stand also is like 1 hour plus, right?
No, less than that lah.
Less than that. Because for us, one train can be like 2 hours long, 3 hours long, and some people they
Stand
very
the whole way,
they can if they stand the whole way very very xiong, right? So everybody does want a seat lah. Like I take from my station down to Tokyo already 1 hour 20 minutes. Yeah, then I still transfer already, then still my journey still continues, that kind of thing. So some people they one whole day they work then they have to do this commute. It's very xiong one lah. Yeah, so Singapore you stand also max maybe you stand more 20-30 minutes. I give you if you work in CBD you live in Lakeside then you stand 30 minutes lah. So I understand like why giving up the seat is like maybe they're more ready because they think stand 20 minutes only that kind. But in Japan like you give up you stand 1 hour like if you give up. There's some people got a lot of act blur, got a lot of sleep one in the reserve seat.
That makes sense.
But I feel that Japanese people they also when there's a rule right, when reserve seat right, they not paiseh to tap. Excuse me, if they're sleeping right, then they will tap. I think I've ever seen before. There's a pregnant lady here. Can you let her sit down? Then okay, sit all that kind of. So some braver people they because it's the rule ma. So like the rule give them courage lah.
Yeah, I'm not like forcing you to do something. It's like
it's the rule.
Part of the rule. You're not following,
correct.
so you should.
Correct. Then like during COVID time it was a bit stressful for the wait staff, service staff because there's a sign that says must wear mask indoors, right? Then the customer who want to wear mask and see another customer never wear mask will go to the staff and say, hey, go and tell that customer off.
Oh yeah.
Then the staff like wow, very very like
interesting.
Like you
they didn't do it, but they get the service staff because they don't want to confront.
Correct. So like but the rules say so in Japan I guess like rule is king yeah.
I don't know whether it happened before. I feel like it had happened before, but like was it with our previous trip? Cause
I remember. I
felt like I was in the train doing something, or I think eating in the train. Or with my guy friends. We were in the train eating or I can't remember what we were doing. The next stop, 1 or 2 stops down, a service staff came in and told us to like don't eat or like litter or something. So it's like a customer dropped off, he went to the service staff and told them, and then like 1 or 2 stops down they probably communicated down that this train there's a group of foreigners don't know doing what. I can't remember now. You can eat, right? Technically you can eat.
Can eat.
Or maybe we were too noisy. I don't know. I can't remember.
Can eat, but you cannot cause a nuisance to other people. So the things that you eat, for example, you cannot eat something that is like
Smelly.
too smelly, too
Maybe.
watery.
Yeah, like dry stuff lah.
And like if like you eat McDonald's got cabbage drop that kind,
yeah,
that one also.
I suspect we were eating something like that. Maybe that's why. Yeah. Then we were just like, huh? This person go out of the way to tell our service staff. Then like 1 or 2 stops down, someone came out and told us.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
So like there are some, I guess in Japan it's really like civic mindedness for the community.
That's why they still wear masks, right? Most of them.
Yeah.
Even though you don't
outdoor
need to.
don't have to,
Yeah,
right?
even though there has never been a mask mandate.
Huh?
Never.
Never?
All the signs, just now the example I tell you, is the shop they own self want to put up one.
We only went to one soba store that says
Oh yeah, there was, yeah.
no mask required.
Yeah, because I noticed that I guess he was the manager or something like that one guy. I noticed he wasn't wearing a mask, which I found weird because everybody else, especially those people
If
working
you're
in restaurants,
Japanese,
are wearing
you will
masks.
definitely be wearing. Yeah.
Then when we were paying, I noticed one sign there. I couldn't read the Japanese but I got the gist of it. It's like this is like a mask-free. You can take off your mask here basically. I was like, oh, interesting. So it's self-mandated.
Yeah, it's all like 自己来 one.
Yeah.
In Japan when it comes to this kind of thing.
So what do you like most about like Japanese society since you've been living there?
I think it's the convenience actually. It's a different convenience compared to Singapore. In Singapore, it's convenient in a way like everything is at our fingertips. But in Japan, the convenience is a little bit like if I don't have a printer at home, I just go to convenience store and I
Oh my god.
put in my USB and I print already.
After I got home, then I saw this TikTok or this thing called net print or something.
Yes.
You can
I
print
use it all
fan
the
art.
time. Yes. When the author uploads it.
Yeah.
You
Then
get
you
the
can-
code. Yeah, I
was
use
like,
it a lot of times. Yeah.
We alert.
Yeah.
You would have things to print too.
Oh, what
lor,
are you
I
talking
said.
about?
I was like, damn it.
Yeah. And not just that, like you can share with yourself. So for example, I have something to print, but my lesson is in Tokyo, for example. Then I don't have I don't want to print it here and then take 1 hour 20 minutes then go there. So I upload it into net print and then I go to Tokyo the convenience store, then I print.
But to be fair, I feel like Singapore society now we have quite paperless already lah. So printing is not as
But printing
Yeah.
fan art though.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That's the
That is
important
one.
thing.
And also online shopping, I don't know how the delivery like is in Singapore, but you can schedule your delivery or even talk to your delivery person.
ours is
Keep on
now
me.
usually they will send, and most stuff you don't require people, like at least in HDBs we have like the riser, right? It's like cupboard, which sometimes if delivery person come, no one is around, you just put it inside.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, usually to schedule out of working hours can be difficult for certain big deliveries that needs a sign off. Yeah, that one is a challenge. But otherwise, it's like sometimes they will say it will reach already, don't have a permission to put it in your riser or something. Yeah, then I say okay. Then my delivery guy, because I think it's part of their, in order to show that they have done it, they have to take various photos. So this delivery guy will take like 7 photos. He'll be like, the item, your house. The item and the house.
Okay.
Your riser, the item inside the riser. Then he will point, the item is in the riser.
We don't
This is
have
hilarious,
this
yeah.
kind of thing. I mean, maybe we do, but I'm not aware of it. But there are like lockers that are specifically for pickups. That are you
Singapore
can
have.
have.
put at convenience store for you go there and pick up. Or you can set doorstep. Or if you want to sign off, then you schedule. There are 6 parts of the day that you can schedule. So all the way until 9 p.m. Yeah, and then
That's quite convenient.
yeah. So the delivery is just really fast. It's really, really fast.
Oh, but you know one thing I noticed since our trip when we came back, right? I was sitting in the MRT yesterday.
Yeah.
Because I think that some of the newer trains, right, now above the door, usually it's just like a static MRT map. Now I think most of them they changed to like screens.
Oh, okay.
Then I noticed now they split the screens into 2, right? One will be ads, which is like what Japan has, right? Ads. And then the other one is actually a screen showing like the map. And then once you get to the station, right, they show you all the different exits
Singapore starting to show that.
So I realized,
the newer train.
this is very inspired by what Tokyo has.
Yeah.
So you show you all the different exits, like exit whatever.
I think Singapore, last time the exits are not great. Like the ways it's labelled. But now I think they're changing the system. I noticed now it's numbers, right?
Yeah,
used to be like alphabets and then like also a bit confusing.
Like now at Orchard, actually, I think they changed it. So if I go Ngee Ann City, it's exit 3.
I took another thing is the transport. Yes, now that you mentioned, I took one bus the other day in Potong Pasir, and it was announcing the stops, which was great because I never knew when to get off in Singapore. But not every bus has that. But in Japan, every bus would have
announced or like the guy
and a screen.
Or in fact, it's like sometimes manually the bus driver will next stop is blah 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 blah.
Yes,
in Japan.
but there would definitely be a screen.
Yeah.
It not even if it's not a updated like 2023 screen, but it's a like maybe like early 2000s with the the LED, like it will show the name of the stop, not in English lah.
Yeah.
Maybe got katakana.
For the screens one, I've seen they do like English then in hiragana in
Romaji
Roman.
sometimes.
Yeah.
The English is Romaji sometimes.
Yeah, it's Romaji. Then you see some is like damn long.
Yeah. Correct. And that is
quite
very
funny.
easy to navigate lor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also things like suddenly lost my train of thought. But yeah, a lot of things is just the convenience. I'm like, oh yeah, this is convenient in Japan. It's not like that in Singapore. That kind got a lot.
But there are some convenience I know.
我记得等一下 not just convenience, the speed because the country is so big. Yeah, and being able to do same day delivery or next day delivery in a country this big I think it's no mean feat. Yeah. Singapore is so small, but you sometimes still got to wait a few days for your post to arrive, right? Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, okay, yeah, you're saying what? Convenience.
What do I want to say?
Something you
Oh,
notice.
like from what I listen to for podcasts like Trash Days is they talk about financial services can be quite bad in Japan. I think we had a conversation about this before.
What was
Like for a lot of banks, you withdraw money, ATM withdraw money, you need to pay a surcharge, a fee. Yeah, which
Correct.
is like to most of the other countries, they're like, what is this? Like I'm withdrawing money
Correct.
from my own account. Why do I need to pay money? So my understanding is there are actually timings where you can withdraw and it's no need fee. It's only at this certain timing.
Have. And also for me it's like don't complain lah. Just choose the bank that you can
That
that
gives
have
you
the free one lah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But
many.
why do then people choose those banks that has this surcharge?
I don't know Maybe the employer want them to
interesting,
do it
I
with
wonder
the
if
bank.
it's because they wanted to control the number of people at ATM because
I don't
Japan
think
is a
so.
very cash heavy. I mean before COVID it was a very cash heavy society, right?
Yeah, I think it's because like it's a extra service maybe, I don't know, but so I know this is a very common like complaint as well amongst my friends, but so usually an employer will say you open up an account with this bank and we will put your salary in it. Then for me, okay lah. Then because work also gives you permission to sign off, don't need to take leave, just go to the bank and take money. So even though it's like during a certain time, right, you just tell your admin people, or at least where in my workplace last time, just tell the admin people I'm going to bank, then take money already, then I put in my other bank with the 24 hours no charge one. Then that is my like cashing out.
So
account.
you mean when you have a job with a company, you are fixed to a bank one? Like the salary?
Sometimes your company
so they will tell
say
you
bank.
which bank to go to.
Yeah, sometimes it's like that lah.
That's very weird to me lah.
Because so many banks. Yeah, in Japan it's just so many banks. We have like we say Chiho Ginko, which is like the prefecture. They will have a bank, prefecture level bank. Then there's also like the agricultural union got a bank. Then for me it's my shopping mall is a bank, got a bank. That's why I bank with my shopping mall, the 0 yen one. Then just post office got bank, like so many banks everywhere. Yeah, internet bank, Rakuten got a bank, 7-Eleven got a bank. So there are just a lot of banks, and that's why the level of the bank, I guess like a lot of institutions can become banks.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you think about what a bank is meant to do, a lot of institutions can be banks.
Yeah. So that's why in Japan also credit card is attached to institutions like your petrol station can issue you a credit card.
But you were telling us about the movie, that one, like when you watch movies, there's a certain, you can get, is it a credit card or something?
Correct. The mall one. Because the mall have movie theatre so it's all like attached all that, this kind of thing.
I guess. So I can now that I understand. So it's basically instead of them having to deal with so many banks as the company.
Yeah. I think they're saying, the company is basically saying, you go and bank, you bank with a legit bank. Like you bank, don't bank like internet you know.
So they give you a legit bank, make you do with a legit bank.
Correct.
And then how you want to deal with it after that is
correct.
up to you.
Correct.
Yeah, I wonder how MNCs do, like give their employees. Because for example, in Singapore, you tell them which is your bank account and then they will put it into your bank account. Your bank account.
Correct.
So I wonder how like the Japanese branches of international companies do it.
I think they will have the the legit bank the Mitsui, Sumitomo, whatever. Then like, but in Singapore I think because the banks they are so stable, DBS, POSB, they are the legit banks.
Yeah.
Like UOB that kind.
Singapore don't have a lot of banks to be honest. So,
most people is like what POSB.
Yeah, so
it can be Maybank also,
DBS,
Maybank, Standard Chartered.
I bet there's some like accreditation thing to like these kind of institutions that make you on an international standard that a lot of like the Japanese banks don't match up one. So
okay, there's a question I want to ask you. Is there a time that you've been staying in Japan for how long?
12 years, I think.
During these 12 years, was there a time where you have considered coming back to Singapore?
I have. Around, it wasn't until maybe my 5th year that I was like, oh, okay, I think I will have to stay in Japan. Yeah.
So what made what were you thinking in terms of why maybe you felt like you may want to come back to Singapore versus staying there?
I think it came at a time where I had left my previous job. Then
that's after JET?
Yeah,
okay.
I left Jet lah.
Okay.
So I was.
And you still have working visa.
Yes. So I was on basically my spouse was working so I didn't feel that like his pay was high enough because his pay was still lesser than what he earned in Singapore. Yeah, that was like I felt that career wise. Bless you. That was what made me think about going back to Singapore because you can earn a lot of money in Singapore. But in Japan you might not be able to earn as much or as fast. So but then after that the longer I stayed, the more and so the longer you stay, the more you get to visit Singapore as an outsider, right?
Yeah.
Then that was when I realised that in Singapore I'm not happy. I feel very stressed, like with the contradicting feelings and like the rudeness. The rudeness is actually quite stressful for me because
interesting.
I try to be as nice as I can be and to have that return with. I'm a total stranger to you. I'm trying to speak nicely to you. Why are you treating me like shit? That thing is really I cannot . Yeah. I'm not. I think some people can like cut off, like they don't take it personally, but I take it very personally. Yeah.
I get where you're coming from. Yeah. I mean, like the service staff, sometimes you're just like why you talk to me like this? You're just like, oh, okay.
If I'm unreasonable, you talk to me like that, I don't care .
Yeah.
I'm being very nice to you. You don't need to treat me like this. Yeah. And also looking at the driving, to me also because I drive in Japan, so I see the driving here, I scared. Very like I wouldn't say like the attitudes are bad. I don't think attitudes, but the rules to me are very strange. Yeah.
So even driving in central Tokyo, you are comfortable?
Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
How's the in what way do you feel like it's different or like?
People give way to you there, very willingly and with a very wide berth. Here there's a little bit of gap, only people slide in.
So you're saying like when you signal to change lane,
people
behind people saw they will actually slow down.
Yeah.
Open up the space.
Correct.
So it's very obvious that you know that you can.
Correct. Yeah.
Singapore doesn't have that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think recently I just driving, I just want to signal right. I signal right for a while already. So I saw like a gap. As I want to turn in, you see the lorry still like going closely. Until a point where I'm quite into a lane, then he slowed down. Which I was like, bro, just give way lah,
Correct. the whole feeling like, why do you want to you know? It's not going like
It's
where
not gonna make
you're
you faster.
correct, and like
it's not.
it's like just one thing I really appreciate about Japanese culture is like, you know, it sort of like comes back to you. Right? I don't know if it's because like, you know, it's a karma thing or whatever, but like you just do the right thing and people will do the right thing to you. That cycle is just very rewarding and makes me like mentally very stable. Like here I just feel just irritated all the time. I don't like to feel that way.
I think a classic example will also be when you're boarding the train MRT. In Japan, right, it's just like you stand there, like people will, if you're in front, people let you board first before they board.
Generally.
Right, generally. I mean, Singapore, we still wait lah. Most of the time, we still let people get off first before we go on. Then I let people get off. Then I was going to board. Then the person behind me just got in front of me. I'm like,
Oh
just
yeah,
let me
the
go first
cutting.
lah. I'm in front of you.
Yeah.
We were both getting on. Hello. You know?
Yeah. The cut and like also I appreciate things like in Singapore, right, in Japan, right, if the queue starts from a certain part and then you queue wrong way, the tensan, the wait staff, service staff will tell you, excuse, sorry they will say sorry lah, the line is that way, so don't mind, you go and queue back, right, but they won't make you feel bad or what lah, but here it's like sometimes the next customer come, they just let then and like it's just I don't know, I just feel that it's unfair, right, and they are enabling it even though there's a rule.
I guess in some way also it goes back to Singapore actually not very confrontational also lah. We are generally not very confrontational. So when it comes to these kind of things, I think you also now remind me like some of the things I also hate dealing with, but I just deal with because it's just part of life now. Is like sometimes you take bus, especially like when I'm trying to take bus from MRT to here, that bus that we take is always quite crowded. Like a lot of people is taking that bus because you go through the key residential area. Then it's like so it's like the people see the bus coming, then you see people literally running to the front. Yeah, that's like fine. Sometimes you stand there already, right? Then the bus come. Then a lot of people will stand like beside you, hoping that the bus will open next to you, right?
Okay,
but as the bus passed them, then they were like, oh shit, I'm off. Then they start like, going towards it. Then sometimes it's like if you don't stand firm, you get pushed away. So sometimes I just stand firm, then sometimes the auntie will like, not budging. Then I tell you, I always do this one. Because I mean, I'm not say huge lah, but I'm a size where if you're a smaller size, you won't be able to budge me on. So some people, they were like, and they push, then I'll just stand firm. Then they were like, oh, not moving. Then they were quite stand there.
This kind of thing in Japan don't have one. It's like everyone will get their turn. We know. You won't get left behind one. And like bus driver they were not heartless one. They won't drive off one. And like sometimes passengers will even look out for each other. Strangers, but they will be like, uncle, there's a still got one more person, wait. Then the person will wait. Like it's very like, you just help me, I help you.
I think it's the civic mindedness, it's the system lah. It's the same when we take very crowded trains in Japan. Like, you know, like people always personal space, but in the train it's like, we know we all have to suffer. Everybody wants to go, let's squeeze so that everybody can get on board train. And then you cannot handle, sometimes the train sway or push each other. People just like, lalang, like, okay, and I have to lean on you. Correct. I don't think anyone make noise or whatsoever. But in Singapore, you won't see that. Singapore, we still try to like have your own space. And it's very, very embarrassing if you knock into other people. You check it out.
It is, Like there was once when the train jerked, then I was stable. Then the woman next to me was supposed to fall, so I was like gonna catch her. But then she seemed very embarrassed after that. She didn't even like want to look at me. Even though I was trying to help her.
Correct. In Japan, if you did that, right, they will be very appreciative. This is another thing. They reward your kindness with appreciation. I really appreciate that. Like I was in a train and then I was holding a grab handle, and this is in Tokyo, and then there was a high schooler, a girl in a uniform. That was her grab handle. So I adjust her, I find another one and then she tell me it's okay. Then I say no, you take it. Then when she alighted, she tapped my shoulder, she said thank you to me.
Oh, so nice.
And like, and this kind of instances, it's not just like happen like 1, 2 times, a few times, like when I give up seat to people, or like, or when I'm in like situations where I help people to like direct them to where they want to go, that kind. The kind of appreciation that you get is just really, not say that in Singapore people ask me for direction, they are not appreciative. It's not that, but the kind of like, how to say, I just feel that it's just really a lot more. The give and take is a lot more obvious. Yeah.
You know the thing about it, like, I'm always looking from the perspective of like as a foreigner, then looking at Japan's culture, like some of the good things and being nice. I'm now wondering like how Japanese people view the rest of the world.
Like,
Like
do
when
they
you
think
look
the
at
rest of the world
Singapore,
is
it's like,
rude?
oh my god, the whole world is so rude.
Why are they so angry all the time?
But then again, I also realized that I think my friend was sharing with me like how if you're working in Japan, in most company, you would have no real time to take long leave usually, because it's like you are burdening your teammates or your company. So usually people take very short breaks, and short break means they usually travel domestically. Right? But then for those who travel, I'm just wondering like, how do they navigate or feel about this?
I think in a way it's 入乡随俗, when in Rome, that kind. So like and one thing about Singapore especially is people are friendly. Like over here, right, can take taxi uncle will say, hey, now raining, you don't wait here. When we chat on the Grab chat, raining, want to go and wait inside or not? This kind of thing is like that personal thing you don't get in Japan. Like it's very like, that like some are like, in a way they are your homies basically, and then like, when you say things like, have a nice day, you can just tell a service staff, have a nice day, then you too, this kind of thing. This kind of exchange, in a way I think it may be a bit more Western, not maybe Singaporean, kampong feeling. But in Japan it feels a bit more that there's that distance. So good and bad. Sometimes the distance in Singapore can be very bit too close, and your taxi uncle will talk to you,
Too much your political leanings.
But sometimes it can be quite friendly, like you get to like make a friend or that kind of thing.
Now that you say it, my other friend, hopefully I can bring my other friend. Her name is Puikwan. She's married to a Japanese guy, and she's working in a MNC there. So she was sharing also, like I was asking her like her, like in terms of friends and so on, like do you like in Singapore it's very common to be really close friends with your colleagues or ex-colleagues, people you work with. So I asked her like, does she have, like, she doesn't have any, when she go there she didn't have any like Singaporean friends there, so she had to make friends with whoever she hangs out with. So she said that she actually don't have a lot of close friends from work. Even from previous workplaces.
She also said that actually it's rare for people to have ex-colleagues because people don't leave their companies. Right?
That's one. And then like, and because usually when your relationship is work, you don't go beyond that to a personal level. And her friends that she has that she considers quite close generally are other country people, other foreigners living in Japan. So I thought that was quite interesting.
I do have those kind of relationships, but I think it might be because I work in a school, and also because I am different. And how would you say, the way that I blended in with my environment was because of it being a school. It was very easy. I could be like, I'm not a worker. Like I'm like, actually I'm part of the student body, but I'm also part of the teachers. So I got to function in a very special position as the only foreign teacher in that school. So big different compared to someone like who is working in a company amongst like all Japanese. So that's why the presentation is very different.
Wow, that's interesting.
So I got to remain very close friends with some of my ex-colleagues. Like really that kind, like we will hang out like during our private time, and then she would like drive all the way to see me, to see me dance, because I take dance lessons, I have recitals, and like friends who are just willing to just go with us on trips, and like just very, very close Japanese ex-colleagues and friends. So it really depends, I think, on the kind of communities and environment that you are in. Yeah. So that, I guess that it, different strokes for different folks.
Yeah. So I was thinking also, like, with the recent trip, I realized that after going, I think this is my 5th time or 6th time in Japan already.
Wow, you cannot have time to move already. Like Lydia went there 4 times and was ready to move.
I'm starting to see Tokyo. I'm starting to see Tokyo not thinking that I'm a tourist.
Okay.
Because sometimes when I travel here, I mean, with my own, like, me exposed to Japanese culture, me enjoying it, the media and stuff like that, and like getting to go Japan more often, frequently, and like experiencing in that short amount of time what is it like living there. Yeah. Nowadays, like, the lens that I put on is less of a tourist, but more like, if I live here, how would life be like? Yeah. As I look at it, and it gives me a very different perspective as I go into Japan this trip, I felt. I start looking like, is this something that what I'm experiencing as a tourist? Like, am I experiencing this as a tourist? Or whatever I'm experiencing can be the experience I have if I stay here.
I see.
Like the places I'm eating, I was just thinking like, what would my diet be like? If I don't cook.
So what's the conclusion? Do you think you can live in Japan?
The bigger question is still job lah, which I never thought about it. Like, if I'm gonna live in Japan, what will I be working? Yeah, I don't think I will be able to be fluent enough in Japanese to work there, and I don't really think I want to work in a Japanese company.
I feel you are suited to start your own business in Japan, because you can definitely do that without too much Japanese. You just need to hire someone who speaks really good Japanese. I do know of people like that as well, and like so it's actually not impossible. I feel that if you are someone who has the funds and has the resources, like the know-how, even if you don't, of course knowing the language is very important, but it's also very easy to find bilingual people in Japan nowadays.
There's a workaround lah.
Yeah.
It's not gonna...
Correct. And because you know English and you know Mandarin, so there are a lot of, because China is so close. There are a lot of Chinese people in Japan who are working, like, as part of the culture, and there are also like people from Vietnam, people from like the US who are just really, really good at Japanese as well. And like, I think also getting to Japan has acquainted me with so many foreign people, like outside of Singapore, which is something I will never get in Singapore, to that level, like where people really go out of their way to learn a different language, learn a different culture, to assimilate. Singapore, you don't really need to do that. You can be yourself and still be in Singapore.
And then every now and then you just add a la in the end of the sentence. Hey, I'm Singaporean.
Yeah. But in Japan, I feel that the foreigners who come to Japan are also like kind of like my people. Like they get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're there not because... Usually they chose to be there somewhat lah.
Correct. And another group of people who really get it are the half Japanese people. Yeah. They also get the stresses and the differences that are very unique. Yeah. They have their own unique things, but at a certain commonality, because we are like not entirely Japanese on a certain level, that is our commonality. Yeah. So when you can find your people, right, and even the Japanese who are more like westernized maybe, or they like Japanese who want to learn Chinese, they are a little bit different. So the ones who are different, we tend to like find each other.
Find a community.
Yeah. And when you can find them, then they are your people. Like, I have a lot of these kind of people. Yeah.
Wow. Lydia building a case.
Yeah, so I don't know.
So I was like, I'm starting also like thinking about, it also makes me reflect about like the convenience of Singapore, like we have talked about. Like a lot of things you do through an app. Government service in Singapore is actually very efficient. If you look, not saying this as a former civil servant, but if you really look at like small things, like the shout out to the One Service app.
Shout out to
like
GovTech.
when you have like what do you call that? Like there were flooding in certain areas like drop-off point when it rains heavily. Yeah, I've just put it in as a request. It actually gets resolved within a few weeks. Even if you get resolved within a month or two, I'm already impressed. Because like considering this is they had to deal with it for the whole Singapore and they actually put the time to resolve this issue at where you are staying. I thought it's like it's quite amazing lah. Yeah, like there was once also sometimes I run in the industrial area, right? Then there's this area where it's just blackout. Like the lights are not working at night.
Right.
And technically it's okay because there's not a lot of traffic at night in that area.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, if you're driving you also have your headlights. So nobody really needs to care too much.
Okay.
But I remember taking a photo, sending it in as a issue. And actually they will let you know like this has been resolved.
That's nice.
Yeah. And it's quite fast lah. I'm not saying that all requests are done in such an efficient manner, but my experience so far is it can be quite fast and efficient.
Okay.
Yeah, which I'm not so sure. I heard like government services can be quite slow in Japan.
In Japan, yes and no. I think things are definitely improving. As someone who has been like there for 12 years and moved houses a few times and having to deal with a lot of these kind of services on my own because my spouse isn't completely fluent in Japanese, I actually don't find it to be that bad. You just need to know where to look and like you need to. It's all also on the internet. Yeah, there are apps for things, but people maybe they don't use. And then even if there's no app, there is like a workaround. Like you mail something in or you just ask people. And the thing is, people are willing to help, and they are not. There's always someone who can help. Yeah, a hotline, a person at a counter or whatever, they can help, and they don't make you feel stupid for asking. Yeah. So that is not that Singapore makes you feel stupid for asking, but sometimes I do feel that there is like certain things that I have to go to the counter at a bank in Singapore, and it takes very, very long compared to Japan. Like on the contrary, Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's why like yes and no the government.
I mean there were like
thing.
some like you all have to have the stamp, right? What's it called?
the
Hanko, right?
Yeah.
And that one is like you don't have Hanko, you cannot do anything. If you forget to bring means you're screwed if you want to do all these transactions and stuff.
Correct. But
it's a small part lah. I mean it's a trade-off.
Yeah, but then like you can order your Hanko online and have it carved online, that.
You can go Daiso and buy one.
Correct. Daiso
also.
and buy one, not really, but you have to have it made, the one that is registered.
Okay.
So there are things that like are inconvenient, but once you get over those things, like there are a lot of conveniences at your disposal. There are so many things that you can print, like your proof of whatever you can print at the convenience store and to submit. You don't have to like queue up at the city office anymore. Yeah.
I do appreciate that they are a lot more cashless now versus the last trip.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Like credit card is so much easier to use there versus I think back then it can be not a lot of shops have it.
Yeah. And my experience like being impressed with Japan's like newer steps towards technology has been my experience with that COVID, like vaccination booking and and like when I got sick with COVID, like how they registered me and how they took care of me. Yeah. But one thing a lot of foreigners like to say about Japan, and which I think is like they shouldn't, is how Japan needs to get rid of blackboards and fax machines.
What's black box?
Blackboards.
Oh,
so
chalkboards that kind.
Chalkboards. Yeah. So I'm not a huge proponent, but I mean I feel that these are just alternatives. They are not ancient. They are not the old one. So I have my reasons for this, but if you go
what ways are these as in blackboards are mainly
in
educational
schools?
perspective or in other
education.
Okay.
Yeah, so
they don't use whiteboards.
They don't use whiteboards. They use blackboards.
They still use
chalkboards. Yeah.
Interesting.
I love chalkboards. I used it for 3 years and I actually think it's like superior to blackboards. Yeah.
Is it a nostalgia thing?
No, it's because the ink doesn't bleed. It's a lot easier to read because black against white is like clinically proven. Or like black background.
White against black.
White against black or yellow against black. It's just like easier to read. And like it's a lot clearer with
basically dark mode on your phone.
exactly. And of course there's but even if you say the dust will pollute the air, your plastic, when you use markers you throw away, it's the same. So for me there's that lah. Then fax machines actually really helps the deaf community, you know. And like another thing that I really love about Japan is like you can be a minority and you are not looked down upon. You don't have to draw art for a living, you know. In Singapore I do feel that like it's tougher for people with disabilities.
But then
not that every people with disabilities draw art for a living. It's very common to see like
I do think like if you have mobility issues, sometimes it seems quite hard sometimes in central Tokyo. I thought it would be okay, but
a lot of stairs.
So many stairs. You have to but I mean you need to get used to it. You know where are your
they know where
it's not as convenient I feel. It's still very stairs, a lot of stairs.
Yeah, but there are people who get around, wheelchair users. So, you know, there are a lot of people who are blind or visually impaired who, you know, the blocks on the floors, it actually came from Japan.
The yellow dots
ideas
things.
For like guides on the floor.
Actually I really wonder how useful they are.
They are very useful. Like if you follow disability YouTube, Japanese YouTube, there are YouTubers with disabilities like
they share about how it helps them.
Who film their lives. So like the ones with the dots tell you where there is a cross intersection,
going left or right or what.
Maybe where it's not like truly useful for people who are visually impaired is if it's not done properly. Like maybe in Japan, like all the roads or whatever is clearly that is done properly to the way it's meant to be. So that's where it really serves the community maybe.
Yeah, it really serves the community.
Visually impaired may not be totally blind right?
Correct. So it's like there's blind and then there's visually impaired. But you can just say
they use the aids basically.
So same for deaf and hard of hearing people. There are a lot of there's a lot of support for them.
I guess so you hear the trains, everything, the announcements. It's very it's all over the place so you know that if you are deaf, if you are visually impaired, you need the hearing aids. There are announcements to help you to get around.
Actually speaking of like trains, actually I noticed that when we go into the station then you can hear a sound one. Like there's this like 2-tone jingle or whatever that actually why does that happen?
When you're going into the train.
Remember like when we step like I think it was Sapporo, then we go down into not into the train, into the station, then you hear like kind of sound. Do you remember?
I'm not surprised if it is for people who cannot see well.
So they know.
You mean when we enter
when we are going into the underpass or whatever.
As in we are walking.
Yeah. Like okay, you know there's the exit that is near our hotel. Then we take the stairs down. Then like how come they will have to announce every time we move? Like into the down the stairs.
I didn't even notice.
Oh my god, I actually remarked about it when we were there.
I'm not surprised that it's for them. It's probably one of those things.
Because it's like, what purpose does it serve? It doesn't, as an able-bodied person, like I was like, why do I need this, you know?
I think a lot of it is very oriented towards people with needs. That I really appreciate. There's a heightened awareness. Like you do not need to be like, you can just be like everyone else. You are not like everyone else, but you can be like them to the best of your ability. But in Singapore I feel that people fall through the cracks a lot. It's just harder. Like it's just a lot harder.
I know, it's almost 4. You need to go soon, right?
Oh no.
It's okay.
I guess we can wrap up here. I guess with this podcast you can I guess I would think about
how to
edit it.
Not just edit, but like moving to Japan. I don't think I'm. Why your face suddenly like that?
I was like, wait, what did he say? He said he's thinking about moving to Japan.
No, like I mean, I guess it's something that in the past as a kid I thought about it because I love the culture. But then again, I also like in my naive mind I was like, I want to have a Japanese girlfriend. You know all like, but it's all very influenced by media lah. Then you realize that it's just media. There's just the stereotype in how Japanese ladies are, and there are some trade-offs to certain behaviors also. So like then now thinking about like it's more about what can I do and work that I think me and Yvette also have considered. Don't know whether it can happen. It's about like spending 3 months maybe. I think that's how long a visa will last.
90
months.
days.
For to like just stay in Japan and just like experience life rather than going there as a tourist. I thought that would be interesting to experience. Hopefully that can work. Sometime in the next. Actually, when will you say we want to do it by?
We have to do it before our BTO have
2025.
2025. That's in 2 years' time. Maybe by then ready for new job.
Oh my god. We'll see how. But thanks for joining us on this your short trip back to Singapore. Hopefully we get to see you soon. Maybe
October. Already planned already. What do you mean soon? October.
I'm not going anywhere.
So hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. If you have any questions about Japan or whatever, just drop in the comments. If I don't know how to answer, I will ask Lydia to go and answer.
Yes.
So thanks for listening, and hope to see you guys soon.
Sayonara.
Sayonara.
じゃあね。
じゃあね。またね。